Welcome back, everyone. Okay, so spoilers for Heavy Rain if you haven't played it already. Heavy Rain is a 2010 action-adventure game that uses QuickTime events as its main mechanic. As of this recording, it has a score of 78 on Metacritic, and it seemed generally well received by players, although one of the less popular games developed by this studio. I got introduced to it through a podcast about games, and it got me interested. I bought it on the PS4 and played through it once. I was constantly aggravated while playing it, though. Not because the story wasn't satisfying upon my first playthrough, but because the gameplay itself was painful. The way you move your character in the game is by holding down the R2 button. I don't know of any other game that makes you hold down a button to walk. Racing games usually do this, but that makes sense. But there was no reason for this kind of button layout in the game. You can't change it either. I tried several times. And I don't like this because it's simply uncomfortable to play. I understand that the discomfort may be on purpose as part of the experience of the game, which is unsettling and uncomfortable at times. After all, you play as a guy who might be a serial killer who may have kidnapped his own son. Of course, my thinking on this is that if you as a game developer need to rely on your controls being uncomfortable to create the atmosphere you're going for, then that's a fundamental failure of game design. Your music, story, and visuals should do that job. If you make the player uncomfortable playing, then you serve to frustrate your player. And after my first playthrough, I couldn't play it again to see the other endings, because I hated playing it. The story, upon the first playthrough, I thought was pretty good. So it was really disappointing that it was made so difficult to play. The other issue was the QuickTime events. They were atrociously laid out on the screen, and sometimes the camera put the button you were supposed to press out of the frame entirely. All of this meant that I didn't play it again for years until I came across it while looking at games that I wanted to try to get the Platinum Trophy for. So I re-downloaded it and got through several hours of slugging through it to get the Platinum Trophy. I got better at the game, but never got used to the controls forcing you to hold down the button to move. I play the game now and I feel forced to give it a thumbs down. I cannot recommend that you play it because the more I played it, the more the odd things about the game started to plague my brain. I don't see how Scott could have laid out all the glass in the tunnels of the butterfly trial. I also do not believe for a second that Norman would have lost the fight against Scott at the nightclub. Norman is young, and although addicted to the weird drug, he still should have had no problem against the old, overweight, asthmatic Scott. Especially since a couple chapters later, Norman fights that muscle-bound thug in the junkyard. That one I thought could go either way, but Scott would have lost to Norman without much trouble. A game like this works the first time, but subsequent playthroughs cause you to question the logic of the game and the story more and more, and you get less and less enjoyment out of each playthrough because the story breaks down on itself. Even though I liked it the first time, the more I played through it, the less I liked it. Again, this is a failure of game design. If the game cannot survive multiple playthroughs, then it's not worth a consumer's money. Ultimately, I would rather have watched some Let's Plays to see all of the endings and never spent any money on it. At least, it was an easy game to platinum. Anyway, thanks for letting me complain about this 10-year-old game. See you later.